So Nathan, thank you for joining us and thank you for making the time because I know it is a busy time getting ready for the season and we're just weeks away from regular season football, but the preseason is the main thing right now. But uh, talk to me about the experience. You're normally, in the midst of a CFL season. Now you're ramping up for hopefully a long NFL season. Have you had the camp arm yet? Is the body feeling good? Where are you at physically and mentally?
Yeah, I think at this point you can't say that your body feels good, but I think it definitely could feel worse. I've been enjoying every moment here. It's been cool to be a part of a team that has kind of had the momentum of last year's season, and kind of join them and see how their culture has been built and be a part of that. And then that we just moved into a new building and new facilities, and just to be a part of that transition has been fun. And I think that they're doing a lot of really cool things here, and I feel like I can grow as a player, and I've certainly been enjoying that so far. But we are in the dog days of camp, and we're looking forward to the first preseason game here on next Saturday against Dallas, and really honing in on that.
I imagine the dog days of camp are a bit better when you have a golf simulator in your new facility. When I saw the photos of what was built, one, I was like jealous, but two, it was a sign of investment, right? Because you don't need to go to that level.
Hmm.
What was that like for you when you first kind of understood the plans and then laid your eyes on, what was going to be, the franchise's home for the next little bit?
Yeah, well, I think that just in general, when an owner is willing to invest in the team, I think that's just a good sign of where the franchise is heading. I think that we had that with Mr. Doman in BC. We had an owner that wanted to be active within the community, but also within the team, and he wanted to be able to control it and push it forward in a positive way. And he certainly did that, and that kind of trickled down throughout the team. And I think that you have the same thing here, where from the top down, the leadership is evident, and you see that people really care about each other. They want to see the best come out of in each other, and I think that the practice facilities are a part of that change, and obviously the stadium plans and stuff like that. There is people who believe in this team and in this community, and I think that's just a really cool thing to be a part of.
You mentioned Doman in BC. You in a way, kind of came in around the same time as him, and there was lots of excitement, for both of you leading the franchise. You're removed now, but how much of that positive vibe and upward trajectory of the franchise are you still aware of? I'm sure you saw, the LA Cool J videos online, but in terms of what the team means to the community and the province. How much of that have you picked up on since you've been away?
Yeah, I definitely still see it. I think again that was one of the things that made it hard to leave, because I knew that there was a good thing going. Um, I think that with the New Jerseys this year, you see kind of a rebrand and a continual push to try to get the Lions to be more part of the community. I think the Lions have always done a really good job of getting the players out in the community, going into schools and having opportunities with the youth. And I think that they've always done a good job of doing that. And I think that it's paying off. You see the games that I was at one recently, the game against Montreal, and the environment is electric. People want to be there. There's a buzz around the team, and obviously they're doing a really good job on the field as well, taking care of business. And I think that those things just kind of go hand in hand, and I think it starts from the top.
Uh, Speaking of top, I know you're not getting, the cut ups of the end zone view and the all player view of film of the Lions the way you would have in the past as you're looking at, Jaguars film. But, knowing your feeling for the guys in that room, I'm sure you're paying attention. What's it been like to follow the team's progress and hot start from afar?
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's hard to be an outsider. I mean, obviously, when you have been involved and been a part of that core for the last couple of years, and you kind of see us kind of grow and mature as a group, it's kind of hard to remove yourself from that. But I've genuinely wanted the best for them and wanted them to continue to win, and I haven't been surprised that they've done the way that they have so far. And I think when you have you have some injuries and you have people having to step up and fill new roles, I think that's just a sign of a mature team, a team that's able to take their punches and keep rolling. And I think they have done that. And so it's been exciting to see Vernon step into that new role, and then obviously the depth that they have at the quarterback position has been great to see as well.
Well, that's why you're nicer than me. That's why Henoc is nicer than me, because I remember when I was done playing at Western, went back for the first game, and I was like, man, I want you to do well, but I want you to miss me a little bit, right? And they were playing a rival Queens night game. They rushed for 200 plus win, and I'm like, all right, like I'm replaceable. But I genuinely get from you that you actually want them to do better, than what you guys were able to do when you were there. Why is there zero ego? Like, where does that come from in a space where we're normally so competitive?
Well, I think I think just generally, I think when you really care about people, you really just want them to have, you want the best for them, right? And I always think about, for me, like that, I felt like I came up short last year, and I was really playing for the guys at that point, and so I still really want them to win, and whether it's with me or without me, I really just want to see them win, and I think that those guys, I know it better than anyone that they deserve it, and the way that they work and the way that they carry themselves on a daily basis, and so. The team has changed certainly, and you definitely feel like you're not part of things as the way that you were at one point. But I don't think that changes the desire to see other people have success.
Nathan, before we even get deep into like football questions, right? Um, and I think I shared this with Donnovan last year. We played, Toronto played BC early on in the season. People were talking about, hey, who's this Nathan kid and this, and that. And I remember telling Donnovan, I said, hey, look, this is still too early. He was good, but it's kind of early. Where do you get your leadership from? Who were your heroes? I mean, like, where does that come from? Because I remember exchanging some words with you at the end of at the end of our game, and just the poise that you had and the maturity that you had when the few words that we did exchange. I walked away saying, "Who is this kid?" Of course, after I said it again, multiple times throughout the course of our game, but who were your heroes and who kind of inspired you to be the type of leader that you are?
Yeah, I think it starts with your parents. I think that my dad was a coach of mine, and when we first started playing flag football in Burlington, and um, I think that you're that's the model of what you kind of shoot for, right? And um, I don't know. I think that there is parts of leadership that come pretty naturally for me. I think that if I was, especially when I was young, if I was in a group that I wanted to, there was a part of me that really wanted to speak up and make sure that we were, I'm kind of a type A guy, so we wanted to make sure we were focused and we were doing the right things, and I think that's always come naturally. But I think that in terms of being able to, like, I believe in servant leadership and being able to serve the people around you, and that's the best way to get them to follow you, is to be able to really believe in who they are as people, and be able to support them that way. And I think that really was modeled by my parents and how they raised us as a family, and I think that's where that value really came from.
How does that compare to the leadership of Doug Peterson, who, other quarterbacks have said similar things? What has your experience been?
Yeah, I think it tracks, and I think that the greatest leaders in sports and otherwise have those traits as well. And Doug's been someone who I've obviously gotten to know throughout the training camp, especially, and I will continue to get to know as we go into the season. And he's someone who's obviously extremely experienced, and feels like he never really goes into a situation he hasn't been in before, which is great, comforting as a young quarterback. And he's done really great things with Trevor. And I think that you can just see the statistical changes from the previous his rookie year to last year, and I think that there are high expectations for a continual improvement this year. So it's been fun to be able to be an outsider, or I guess an insider in this case, to be able to see that growth and be a part of that has been really really fun.
I mean, your humility, oozes off from the screen, Nathan. But talk to me about this next challenge, right? You went from being a leader on your team in BC as a rookie
Mm-hmm.
to winning some awards and recognition as well in the CFL, and then taking another jump and another leap into a whole new league, and in the NFL now. What is this challenge going to be like for you as far as coming back as a rookie, learning
Mm-hmm.
again from other guys, and trying to kind of get a handle on what's going on? What do you think are your biggest challenges coming ahead?
Well, it's certainly going to be a challenge. It has not been easy. It's been hard to go from being a starter and then, like you said, being a rookie again. I had to. I've been doing all the rookie things here, and to have to go through that again is not the most. Wasn't what I was looking forward to when I was coming down here, but it's all part of it, and it's certainly a challenge. I think there's going to be a lot of patience involved. There's going to be a lot of learning. Um, you know, uh, Things aren't going to be handed to you, especially in this league, and everything that I am going to have to that I want is going to have to be earned, and but I think that was part of the decision that we had to make is do we want that type of challenge? And I think ultimately where I want to go, I think yes, and this is just a great stop in the end of the day of along my football journey that I'll be grateful for. So, honestly, like I said, we talking about the franchise, and this couldn't be a better place. I think everyone here is locked in on the right things, and it's been fun to be a part of that. And I know that there's going to be a lot of growth coming out of it.
The general theme to every conversation I have with Nathan Rourke is Nathan Rourke's just a better person than I am, full stop. Because you're talking about doing the rookie things, and it's like, well, you played professional football, you got some hardware, back home. I was a transfer in university, and so when I transferred, technically I was new to that team. And when people tried to get me to do Rookie Nation, I was like, nah, actually, I've played before. I'm not a rookie. But you, with the servant leadership, um, you're doing all of the rookie things, which I'm sure has you, in a good place in that locker room. Speaking of servant leadership, there's one way that me and Henoc actually have more experience in that than you, because we're married, dog, and you recently got married this off season. So talk to me about what that experience and party was like in a transition, and if you are the quarterback in your own home.
Well, I think first off, it's kind of been the same because my wife and I spent some time together after the wedding. We took a little bit of a trip, and then I was back in Jacksonville. And actually, the day after or 2 days after I got married, I was back in Jacksonville, and my wife was back. We were in two different countries again, and so it's been kind of that throughout our entire relationship. She was in Toronto while I was in BC, and we haven't actually spent too much time together. So it feels like we're kind of this. It's been kind of the same for us. But after training camp, at the end of the month, we'll be moving in together finally. We'll be in the same place. But it's been a joy. It's been so fun to be able um, to just to be a part of a relationship where there's so much support, and I mean she was crucial in my whole decision, and this challenging time as well. She's been absolutely my rock, and it's certainly the distance has always been a challenge for us, but we've taken that head on, and we're looking forward to taking this next step in this new journey and new adventure in Jacksonville.
Wait a minute, Nate. I mean, you described that as like that sounds like a perfect marriage to me. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I'm just saying, like it's clearly working. You might not want to switch things up until maybe kids, then you have to be around, and you're going to see a lot of each other at that point if that is in the cards. But Exciting times for you, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. It's the distance is never ideal, but I think that we're very busy individuals, especially during camp. And even if she was down here, camp takes precedence at this time. It's everyone else is doing it, so it is part of it.
Listen, I could totally relate with what you're saying, Nathan, and when I was making the transition as well, remember having to think about all these things, right? But you talk about the crucial decision and how your wife was a part of it as well. Another person that
Mhm.
was probably a huge part of this a crucial decision was Hank, smiling Hank, and I see
Yeah.
a lot of resemblance from your spirits. And I was fortunate enough to play against them in my younger years in the CFL, and obviously
Mhm.
playing against you as well before you made the transition. Um, Tell me how he impacted your decision and what role he really played in this.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting thing with him because obviously, Henry's been he's an absolute legend in the CFL. People especially up north, know who he is and know that he's a legend and whatnot. And we almost worked together in BC. He was briefly unemployed, and the Lions coach Campbell picked him up, and I picked his brain for as long as I could, and then he got a job in Jacksonville, and then while I was I came down to work out, and he was giving me advice on the whole NFL CFL thing, and because he went through a very similar thing briefly there, and at the beginning of his career, and so he was giving me advice on that, and that was really it. I mean, I know I think it would have been great to work together, but I think he was really giving me advice on making the jump and what the timing was like. I think that one of the things he said was that the situation is really important. He felt he made the jump onto a team where he was really really buried on the depth chart, and he wished that he would have played a little bit longer in the CFL before he went down to the NFL, and so that was important in that. But then obviously I signed with Jacksonville, and he goes somewhere. He goes somewhere else, and he's with the Rams now. So one of these days we'll work together. I'll be really looking forward to it. But they still speak so highly of him here, and you can obviously see his impact even in places he isn't there anymore. So he was someone that I think he was the first person in the Jags organization that I actually told that I was going to be coming because he'd just been so valuable in the whole decision making process, and it's just someone that I have in my corner it's just really cool to think about. The guy. And I remember we were at our workout, and I had worked out with two other receivers, and he had come into the locker room, and we were just chatting, and I got the sense that the other two didn't know who he was, and so I just started saying, "You know who this guy is? He played 20 years. He's an absolute legend. He did all these things, and you just would never know it by the way he carries himself. So he's just such a great guy, and like I said, hopefully one of these days we're able to work together because I think it's a long time coming at this point."
Nathan, walk me back a little bit, right? Again, I just I want to see what the process was like for you, right? So you finished the season, you know you got a wedding coming up, you're kind of healing up from an injury as well.
Mhm.
How many calls did you have? How was the process of healing as well as working out for teams? Did you have multiple calls? And having gone through the process, I remember it could be a little bit hectic. You can have a lot of
Mhm.
people. I'm sure Hank played a huge role, like I said, of kind of helping you make the decision. How was that process like, and how were you able to kind of go through it?
Yeah, it was certainly unique with the injury because I wasn't 100%. I did 12 workouts for NFL teams, and so that process was crazy. I would do most of the time I would do about three or four at a time on a
Mm.
weekly basis. So I would do usually around Saturday, and then maybe Sunday off because of the game, and then Monday Tuesday I would be doing workouts, and then I'd fly back to Vancouver, and then I did that for a couple months, and that just the whole process is crazy. It's a lot of physicals, a lot of people checking out your foot. Foot's not
Yep.
100%. I'm not running the way that I need to. I'm telling them that I'm going to be all right and all that different type of stuff. And I actually had a team who said that they saw they saw my physicals, and they just weren't interested after that point because of the foot and everything. So just the way it goes sometimes, and But yeah, it was a tough situation. I mean, going into that and talking to different teams and kind of seeing where their head was at, I think it became pretty evident that the best option was going to be Jacksonville. You want to have a team that's going to be able to, or going to want you to be there, and just that wasn't true for some of the teams. I think they just were curious and all that different type of stuff. But it certainly was a whirlwind experience, and to do it with the injury made it difficult. But foot's feeling good right now, and I think at the end of the day we made the right choice.
I need to know what team that was that wasn't interested. I need to look at their season projection over under and fade them. Take the under.
Yeah, I'm not.
Uh,
Well, I think
uh,
at some point it'll become evident. Hopefully I have the chance to be able to make them feel like they made the wrong decision.
by the way, I'll let you know right now, Nathan. DB has been a fan since I think before you even threw your first football in the CFL. But I love that you said that because, and the reason why I wanted to ask that is because people don't really understand that whole process, right?
Hmm.
And you talk about so many different physicals, and I remember doing 2, 3 workouts a week as well, and have being poked and getting blood tested and all of that.
It does.
That whole process. But now you're in Jacksonville, Nathan, and there's a reason why you're there. You're not there by accident. I'm interested to know what was that meeting like with whoever it was that you met with, whether it was the GM, the coach, or some assistant GM. What was it that they said that really intrigued them about you? What did they love about your game?
Well, to be honest, if I'm thinking back, I don't remember as much. I think um, it was more about to me about the situation was here, and obviously you see a team that's on the rise and that you want to be has the energy that you want to be a part of, and but I think you want to be able to get on the field, and I think that one of the things that they said that was really great for me was that they were going to carry 3 quarterbacks in the off season, and that was kind of a unique thing for the league at the time. And so to be able to know that I was going to be a part of at least the off season and going to get a chance to be able to show what I could do and show that I deserve to be here, that was important to me. I didn't want to go into a situation where they were like, this is set in stone, and you're not going to get a shot, or you're going to be the fourth guy or whatever. To me, it was more at that point. It'd be more worth it to just stay in BC and continue to try to win with that group. But I yeah, it really came down to that, and trying to make sure that we made the right decision from that standpoint.
So back here in Canada, Ontario won the junior championships recently, and when you look across the province and where players are produced, there's always an argument where the best players come from. And you're bi-coastal, so you're not just an Ontario guy, but I grew up a Scarborough Markham guy, obviously Henoc, Mississauga. There's constantly Brampton guys saying that's the hotbed. In Hamilton and London and Windsor, they say that's the hotbed. But unquestionably, when you're looking at producing quarterbacks, something about the water of Burlington. What is it about that area where you always have a couple kids with coaches looking to give them offers at various levels because they can sling it?
Yeah, I think for the sake of this argument, I'm definitely an Ontario kid. Just so we're all on the same team. We're all advocating that Ontario has the best football and all that different type of stuff. So, but yeah, I think at least for when I was growing up, it was always I think Larry Justanis had a big part in that. He was always coaching the Halton region, and guys that were coming up, always seemed to go through him and be coached by him. He did a lot of great quarterback things. I think what I found, during the COVID year, I started doing some coaching. What I found was that there was a lot of great athletes, but there wasn't a lot of coaching, especially not in comparison to the United States. And so guys wanted to be able to become better quarterbacks, but there wasn't the attention, there wasn't the coaching to be able to get them to the next step. And I think that early in my football career as a youngster, Larry was my first quarterback coach, and he was a guy who was able to help me to develop as a passer, and we ran some very I think for the age group we were running 3-by-2 formations, and we were doing some spread offense and stuff that I think other teams weren't doing at the time, and I think that allowed me to be able to kind of develop. I know that Will Finch was also someone who came up through that kind of system. I know his dad was also a coach as well, but I think that just the resource and the availability of those coaches to be able to continue um, to to coach that area, I think was really important to kind of developing those people, and I think that that impact's still there for that area.
Your accolades speak for themselves, Nathan, and you've grown so much in a short amount of time up here in Canada, especially when you came to the CFL, of course. Going up there, down there now in the NFL, in Jacksonville in particular. I know at this stage in your career, in this transition, you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking, hey, I want to learn as much, I want to grow as much and be as comfortable as I can be with my teammates and the coaching staff and the playbook for sure. But what's one thing that you would say uh, you are working on, one or two things that you feel like these are the things that I'm focusing on to improve myself to get to the next level, since really that's what all the greats do.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing that I've had to adjust to going back to the American game is the type of throws that you have to make are different. It's smaller, so you have to throw the ball differently. I felt like while I was in the CFL, I just started working with Rob Williams, who was able to add, a guy I worked with now for 3 years, but he's able to add a lot of velocity to my throw, and so I just went up to training camp in 21 and was just ripping the ball out there, throwing the ball as hard as I could, and just trying to get it to our guys. And you were able to get away with it a little bit more because there's so much space. But down here, they're really looking at accuracy and touch, and I've had to adjust to that, and I'm going to continue to improve specifically in touch and just trying to get the ball into a right spot and be able to catch the ball essentially for the receiver, put it in a good spot so they can go and do something with it. That especially when I got to the Jags and in OTAs, I had to adjust to that. So there was a bunch of overthrows and things where I was just letting it rip, and so I've had to adjust to that. But I think that the main thing in this preseason games I'd like to be able to really improve on and show the coaching staff is that I can operate the offense, that they can trust me to put me out there, and I can handle what they're asking their quarterbacks to do. I think that's the biggest thing, and I think that's what teams want to see. Um, I'd like to be able to go out there and really command the offense and be able to show them what I can do.
I loved watching you in the CFL. I'm excited to watch you in the NFL, but I always love when we get to catch up and we get a little bit of the insight and perspective that makes you, a great player and a great person. So, all the best, continued success.
Yeah, thanks, Donovan. Thanks, Henoc.
All
Great
the
to
best,
talk to
Nate.
you. Yeah, thanks.
Yes,
Best of luck
sir.
this season, man.
All right.